What do you feel is a good way for people to develop that, even if they're sort of going through the development phase of their wrestling? They're not winning, they're not world beaters yet. They're losing a lot still, or they have a 50-50 balance of winning and losing. What's the best way to develop confidence, even though you're still not quite at the top of your game, in your opinion?
I'd say like three things, right? We talked about performance over results. I think doing really hard things is a big thing, and just your resilience, right? Like getting back up. The amount of quit that the average person has in them is extraordinary. And even the toughest guys, like I don't care how tough you are, you can watch, the best wrestling in the world, best fighters. Everyone has a breaking point, and I talk a lot to my guys and my athletes. It's like, you could be the toughest guy in the world. But they can break, and breaking one time that won't define you, right? What happens one time, whether it's good or bad, right? You could be the toughest guy on the mat that day. That's not going to define you. It's your repeated actions, your repeated performances. That's what's going to define you. So if you break over and over again, well, you're a guy that breaks. You find a way out. On the other side, the more you do those hard things, the more times you find a way to dig deep and come out on the other end, the easier it becomes to do it. And I use this analogy of like weightlifting, right? It's like you can follow the weight card that your strength coach puts on you and says, hey, you got 10 reps at 185 for X exercise, whatever. When you hit that 10th rep, if you can do the 11th, man, you better be putting that 11th up. And even if you fail on it, you fail 25%, maybe you get to that 10th rep the next week and you make it up halfway. And then you make it up 3/4. And then finally you get that rep 4 weeks later. Like that's how you're building strength, right? But the more times you rack it at 10, or it gets really hard at 9 and you rack it, like the easier it becomes to do that, right? So I went off on a tangent there, but I think it's threefold, because you want to build confidence. You like some of it is just, you got to do really hard things. You need to believe that you are capable of doing really, really hard things. So outside of wrestling, we'll do some grinding, maybe live conditioning. But I really like cross training. I like CrossFit workouts or metabolic conditioning, because I think there is a lot of carryover. Like you're competing with yourself, right? So whether it's reps or time, you only have yourself to compare it to, right? We can look around the room, but it's more about the next time we do that same workout. Like, were you able to improve, or not improve? So I think that was kind of the other thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was really well said. There's something you said there too that I liked, and that is that everyone in the world, no matter who you are, has a breaking point. And sure. Part of the journey of becoming a developed wrestler is lowering the amount of quit that you have in you as much as possible. If you don't mind, I'm going to perform a little brain surgery here. I'm going to peel your head back. I want to get into your mind a little. Tell us about something like, I guess, a negative thought pattern in your own career that you had to filter out in order to keep yourself from mentally breaking as easily. Can you think of anything that you had to, I guess, some thoughts that you had to learn how to control or block out in order to keep yourself from mentally quitting before your body does?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, a lot of it was more like, yeah, sure. So I'll look back at my high school career, right? And I was successful. I had a lot of, options as far as colleges, but I come from New Jersey. It's one of the best states in the high school in the nation for high school wrestling, right? Pennsylvania, probably number one, and then New Jersey, Ohio, Illinois, California, right? Like say those are like the top 5 or 6 schools. I never won a state title in New Jersey, and that was tough for me psychologically, right? And I performed really well at some national events and got some really good exposure there, where I was fortunate to be on people's radar. And coincidentally, I lost to really, really good guys that ended up also being like, Division I national, like All-Americans. But I think at the time, like that was something psychologically that did play with me. Is like, I'm not on the same level. Although I knew I was prepared, I knew I was as good and better than a lot of these guys. There was always this itch in the back of my mind of like, I never was able to get it done. And I think that did play with me a little bit psychologically throughout my career. until say even my like junior, senior year, where it really started to click. And some of that was finding the right weight class. But you find yourself in these rounds, right? I was a state runner up a couple times, or I'm like, I guess the way my coach used to always talk about it when I was younger is like, the hardest round to win is the round that you lost at previously, right? So if you habitually lose in the semifinals, or you habitually lose in the finals, like, to be the guy that overcomes that's that psychological battle going on in your head that you have to overcome that. And I'd say that was probably, one of the biggest things for me in college. Was I knew I belonged, I believed I belonged, but until I physically got over the hump and won that match and won in the finals of a major tournament, it's like, it's all things that you're telling yourself, but hasn't come to fruition yet. So when it finally comes to fruition, that's another part of that confidence. Like, I can do this. I've won a major, and I put myself in a position like, now I know I can be that national champ or that All-American, whatever your goal is.